It's going to be my, this is going to be my third try at towns. And up to this point, I wanted to show you the world we're starting in. Up to this point, I had assumed the game was a dungeon game with a building component. And after reading a lot more of Wiki and some of forums, I think that it's a building game with a dungeon component. The one thing that seems to make your people unhappy, which keeps you from getting more townspeople, is work and being in the dungeon. So what you need is a nice, attractive, comfortable, pretty city for them to be in. And I think a certain amount of stuff underground where they're happy with their, surroundings there. What they do is they do a visual check, or whatever you want to call it, of their surroundings occasionally. And depending on what they see around them, if they see happy things like their personal belongings, their personal room, statues, hedges and flowers you've planted, a nice place to dine, all that kind of stuff, their happiness goes up. If they see work and dungeon and bad things, then it goes down. So there's I think perhaps we need to load not only more than I have in the past towards the building, but basically, like I said, I think we need to approach it more like it's a building game with a dungeon component. Now, forums says if you want to get iron, if you want to be sure you get iron, to start with visible iron. Now, the problem I'm having with that is I've been looking at worlds for rather a long time and haven't found any visible iron. So it kind of depends on how many maps you're willing to look at, and it also depends on, I'm going to start out with some stone and some wood. Want to make sure I get the tops part. They've got some wood to cut and some stone. I'm thinking about putting the carpenter's shed temporarily around in here, and putting the orchard and maybe the fields over here, and we'll kind of go from there. It says not to start near a mountain. Now, I don't really want to level this whole area here, but this is only 3 high actually, and I could level it, which would give me this flat area here. We do have coal here, which is, without iron it really doesn't matter much. So we're counting on coal and iron being underground, and the limit of our city will be right about here where this mountain is. So we're looking at this area in here, and I hope that'll be enough. Another thing you might be curious about, my guys are right here, and I wasn't shooting for this, but see, we're right here. But if you see that color there, that's the jungle, and that's where the bad guys are. These ones are froggies. So you've got toadies or froggies, or maybe you have both, I don't know. But I know you have both at some point in time. I don't know if they're different tribes or different levels of the same beast. It looks like they're different tribes because all these are froggies. And we'll go from there. I'm not going to micromanage everything as far as the video goes. We'll be checking in and seeing some of the highlights. I've got enough footage up of micromanaging stuff and fine details. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, we'll be back, and what I've done at this point is I've laid out the bakery, the carpentry, the masonry, and obviously hadn't adjusted the sound yet. We have our 2 carpenter's benches, so what we need next is our wood detailers. They build those, and we'll go with the mason's bench. You need a wood detailer to build it. From there, a lot of it's kind of basic. You equip your various rooms with the appropriate things. And of course, also you have to have wood. Alright, they're all goofing off. I haven't given them enough orders. Okay, I've laid out personal rooms over here. Anything on town layout, take with a grain of salt. There's a hospital. I'm not sure where I'm going to want that. The dining room, I've got my kitchen there, the bakery there. I figure the dining room there close to the food. I want to build farms and orchards over here. I've already got, let me get off of Z. I've got fruit trees here so they can bring fruit trees from the fruit trees to make new fruit trees without going far. And I figure the wheat fields here, so bakery, kitchen, and some farms here. I want to eventually level this off. It's only 3 high, and I'll probably put more farms there. There's coal there, which is kind of actually inconvenient. We'll probably work it from underground so as not to disturb these personal rooms. With the carpentry there, I'll probably build a tree farm here. And I might go with palm trees just because I haven't done it before and because I've got them. Or I might do both. I don't think it really matters one way or another. But actually resting is one of the things they need to do. It increases their Oh, we went to 15? Okay. Well, there you go. You live and learn. But I started with 11. That means we got 4 more because I didn't throw them like a ton of orders at first. So, I'll take that. We're what? We're on day 1, month 1, year 1. As long as I'm in here. If you get a caravan, he comes in here. I'm assuming this is for anybody that hasn't played. Heroes, you have to have a tavern. You have to have 10 townspeople. I think you pretty much have to go opened up a level 2 dungeon, and we'll get around to that. And level 2 is actually the first level. It's called -2 on your level, but it's the first level of the dungeon. But 10 townies, a tavern, private tavern rooms, and all these buildings are here. The tavern's down here, the tavern rooms here, the tavern, marketplace, barracks. Barracks, I've never found much use for soldiers until you open your dungeon and you want a guard room. So, but that's up to you, entirely up to you. So, this shows you your stock. Unfortunately, it shows you stock that hasn't been picked up and put anywhere. So it may be showing you stuff that's way down in the dungeon or on the other side of the planet. So it's kind of marginal use. Soldiers, you can convert these guys into soldiers, and that's pretty simple. You just tell them to become soldiers, and you can convert them back. Theoretically, if a townie's attacked, a soldier will run to help them. But the combat is so fast that I don't see the point. They're not going to get there in time to matter. If a townie's attacked by something they can't handle, your best bet is to issue like a harvest order, a gardening order, a tilling order, some kind of order that brings a bunch of townies to them very quickly. Something that's prioritized, and the other townies can help them beat the crap out of them. You have a priorities panel here. You got when you start out, baking and cooking are first, gathering and harvesting, mining, tilling, item construction, walls, butchering, hauling. Now later on, when you're using meat as a food source, different foods fill people up to a different level and take a different amount of time to eat. You might want to move butchering over here to where it's more of a priority. Because if they can't butcher, if they don't have the butchered animals, they can't cook them. When you go to food, though, gathering is like this, and these numbers here are build twos on the right-hand side. If you plug these in, they just go get this many of them. This world isn't going to have snow cherries, so you can plug that in all you want, and they won't go get them. So this one, I usually keep eggs. I can make omelets out of them, which is a pretty good food. Here's butchering. Again, you have your build twos. And like I said, if you don't have reindeer, they're not going to invent reindeer for you. Whatever you butcher, though, is your base for down here cooking. You can go to meats, and whatever you have, you can build to however many cooked badger meat, cooked pork, cooked steaks, and cooked poultry, but you have to have it butchered for them to cook it. So a lot of this is step by step. There's your omelets. Now see on that it says fill is 90%. So that's a good item. This fills 120, and I don't know what happens to the extra 20. Somebody mentioned something about on the meat. I saw a forum thing that said roast with the fill of 150 or waste of time until you had somebody in the dungeon, so I don't know. Seemed not to have much of a voice today. The other thing is this takes the eggs plus the pork, so you're piling on ingredients and trips to for not necessarily a gain that's going to matter to you. Alright, baking, they have to grind the wheat into flour, and I'll show you the flour mills once I get them set up. But anyway, baking, you can set your pars on. Bread's pretty basic. All it takes is flour. And apple pies aren't too bad. I thought they weren't bad. I don't know. Somebody might inform, say the 10% isn't worth the extra apple. But whatever. You know, variety's the spice. And you've got pear pies on the same deal. But you're going to have apples and pears. So, you know, it's up to you. Meat pies are supposed to be one of the good deals for your dungeon crawlers. I guess you get a higher rate of return for selling those. Your dungeon crawlers pretty much do everything on their own, and they will or will not pick up weapons. The best you can do is leave them where they might find them. I'll go ahead and show you where the mills are at least. Wasn't really planning on much of a how-to, so I've done that in other videos. But here's where you have your flour mills, your animal farms, and all of these. Now this is my bakery, so I'm going to want flour mills here. And maybe a third one. Last time 2 was adequate. And that way what they churn out will be close to the bakery. In fact, I'm going to move those back a little bit. And again, I haven't delved through forums to find the exact square these need to be on or anything like that. So everything with a grain of salt. Eventually, that is there's a little cow running around on a treadmill, and they'll go get the cow and put him in it, and they're made out of wood also and stone, and they'll put all that together, and it'll start. You'll want to put a farm for your wheat here. I'm going to put together an orchard up here, and we'll put some animal farms in here, and they'll get animals, and every so often they'll churn out a pig or a cow or a chicken that's available to you. Alright, I'll be right back in a minute. Before I space this off, happiness decides how often you get more people. Or if you get them at all, you can easily play the game with no more people. So evidently giving them that little break actually kicked us up to 15 people. And my first priority would be to get them armed, but we don't have any weapons yet. I'm going to go with stone spears and wooden armor at first, but we haven't done enough stuff to get that. So, but anyway, you see the happiness line there, turns to eat. Alright, you've got about 2 days is what I've seen to get food, and hopefully it's one of the easiest things you can screw up is to not have food. Why am I not hitting there? Okay. Alright, everywhere you see a blue square around a fruit tree, they're going to go get that fruit. Now, the fill on that is dismal, but it'll keep them from starving. And you can also set your pars here. Yeah, 20% fill, but like I said, it'll keep them from starving. What we really need to do is get this wheat farm started so we can get the bread. If you'll recall, you had a 75% fill time on that, or 75% fill, and apple pies and pear pies were actually 85%. So we actually what I've normally done is have them pound out a lot more wood, but I almost wonder if it'd be more protective to get some land started for setting up till is the order you need. Get some land set up for farms. Now, this actually kind of matters because wherever your farms are, it's convenient to leave them there forever and extend them forever. So in fact, I might do a chop thing here. Get rid of the rest of these trees. That's not a big deal as long